folks, this is Math Unmasked for Unit 8, Lesson 15. So the last couple of videos have touched on median, which is also covered on this homework. I'm not going to talk about that here because today we introduced a new concept, the concept of IQR, which stands for interquartile range. We also talked about interquartile range or IQR as being part of a 5-number summary. The last couple of lessons, we've really focused on the middle of the data set. And that's usually where we look to find a typical number or a representation. But it doesn't really tell us about the data set as a whole. The 5-number summary and the IQR do tell us that. So let's go ahead and start with our 5 numbers. We're going to start with 2 numbers we've talked about a lot before, which is the minimum. Okay, so this is a data set of the ages of 20 partygoers. Our minimum obviously is the smallest number or the number with the least value. So minimum. Okay, so 7 is our minimum in this data set. It is the number, it is the youngest age of the partygoers in this context. The other number we've talked about before is the maximum. So our maximum in this data set is 42. 42 is the age of the oldest partygoer. So now what we have to do is we have to divide this into quartiles, which sounds a lot like the word quarters. So we're going to cut it into 4 equal pieces. So there's 20 numbers in this data set. I'm going to count in 10 because that would be the halfway mark. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is actually going to be my quartile 2, okay? Because that's half. That would be 2 out of the 4 pieces. Then I'm going to cut this first part in half. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is half of that 10. This is my quartile 1. Okay, you can probably see then this part we're cutting in half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is my quartile 3. Our maximum is sometimes also called our quartile 4. And that's another name for it. So you can see physically we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. That's our 5-number summary. What are our numbers for these? Well, let's start with this one. This one's pretty easy. This line is drawn in between 2 20s. So our quartile 2 here is equal to 20. Right? When we drew our quartile 1, this line is in between 10 and 11. So we have to split that difference. Halfway between 10 and 11 is 10 and a half or 10.5. So quartile 1 is worth 10.5. Here, our line was drawn between 28 and 30. So if we think about 28 and 30 being on a number line, right? 29 is the number that is right in the middle of those 2 numbers. So our quartile 3 here is 29. Okay? So when we talk about our 5-number summary for this, our 5-number summary is 7, 10 and a half, 20, 29, 42. Well, what does that tell us? Okay, so in this context, it tells us that our data is spread from 7 to 42, which is a pretty wide range of data. There is a lot of variability in our data. And we can see here our center is 20, which makes sense. 20 is about half of 42. Our quartile range here is 10.5. Our quartile range here is 29. So there is a lot of variability, right? There are not really a ton of outliers in this data set, and these numbers can tell us this. This is about 10, this is about 10 more, this is about 10, this is about 10 more, right? So our data is consistently spread between those 4 quartiles. If you have outliers, you're not going to have that consistent spread of numbers there. Okay, there is more, more detailed explanation of interquartile range in the Khan Academy videos and in the Mr. Morgan's Math Help. So if this brief review wasn't enough for you to remember what we did in class today, or you're not with us, you're at home, I would strongly consider having you check out those videos before you attempt tonight's homework. Good luck.